Get the fuck up. Simon says, get the fuck up. Throw your hands in the sky.
There's a question here on how do you utilize max effort work with your athletes? So I think that's a good question because there's a lot of ways that it can be implemented. So how do you go about that?
I'll kind of start from the bottom. We typically, when freshmen or new lifters to the system come in, I'll use squat for example, we'll do dynamic work or speed work for the first 3 to 4 weeks. So for some of them that may be like say women's cross country, that may be someone box squatting holding a 20-pound med ball. But the reason for that is we can teach them the movement because there's relatively high volume, 24 reps, 24 to 30 reps. And I think it really helps them learn how to get that pop off the box or that fast flexing, I call it. It's not reactive, it's not a plyo.
No, it's a static to dynamic.
Static to dynamic,
yeah.
Boom, which is what most sports are.
Yes.
But that's how we teach people, right? Then from there, we'll get the bar on the back, whatever the next progression would be, and just slowly work them into it. Usually after those 3 to 4 weeks, they're pretty proficient at the movement. Not so much training, but they're proficient enough at the movement where we'll progress them to the whatever 5, 3 rep max, 1 rep max, depending on the sport, depending on their needs. Sometimes could be an 8 rep max. But that's kind of how we put it in and introduce it. And then who does what? Like what's your sport need? What's your priority for that sport? What's your priority for where they are in the season? What's their, you may have kids that aren't ready for max effort. So, and we've even done like let's say our swimmers a couple years ago, they're kind of long and lanky and their hips are really bad. Like it's hard for them to open up and stuff. So to help teach them to strain, because you put a bar on their back to the point where they're split and they'll fold. You know what I mean? They can't fight through it. So we put in some pin pulls where they don't have that fear and they can work through it and strain and pull and keep going.
Yes.
So it kind of taught them what that feels like, so that's an option you can do. But
yes,
yeah.
I think the key with max effort work is for people to understand what the overriding goal, the first number one goal of max effort work is, and that is to teach somebody to strain. That's it. That's the overriding goal. Yes, it's going to be a compound movement. You can't make an argument for a concentration max effort curl, but it has to be a compound movement, and that movement based upon their skill level should have some dynamic correspondence to what exercises the coach feels is going to carry over best to the athlete on the field.
Right.
Notice I didn't say has dynamic correspondence to the field, okay? Because not that many exercises really do. Out of all the coaches that I've spoke to over the years, it's probably down to, if you count single leg stuff and 40 yard and broad jumps and stuff like that, it's probably, I would say, no more than 10 variables if I was to pull coaches and say, what do you feel has the highest dynamic correspondence for football? Let me put that out there, for football. And it's going to fall in there. Well, those things can be max effort exercises and speed exercises, but typically you don't want them to be that much because you want to build them.
Right.
And that's where that straining and the ability to strain for time, where a beginner has a hard time straining for more than a couple seconds. Pin pulls are great, even isometric works good too if you hit it at different, locations, and it has to be safe if you're a beginner or intermediate to max effort stuff. You don't, if it's powerlifting, let me keep it simple. The closer you can keep it to mimic a squat movement, say a front squat, yoke bar squat, camber bar squat, something like that, the better it's going to be. When you start to get further outside that realm, like a suspended good morning or, good mornings and that type of stuff, for a beginner, that's just like sticking a knife in your head. You're not conditioned enough to be able to do that. And, I used to make the joke about good mornings that if somebody can miss a good morning in the bottom position, then they should never be doing good mornings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you really have no awareness at all. If you're standing up with a good morning, you start to bend over, within fucking 2 seconds, this shit ain't happening, and you bail.
Yeah.
Somebody that goes all the way down and misses at the bottom, shouldn't be, first off, that should never happen,
Right.
but they shouldn't even be considering that an exercise to do,
Yeah.
or really anything that's going to take the barbell further away from the center of gravity, which is more torque on the spine. So remember what the goal of max effort work is, and that's kind of what he presented there. Is he's introducing his athletes to it through just general exercises. And then those general exercises, once the technique becomes efficient, will turn into 3-5 rep type max work.
And like everyone's max effort, like you can kind of scale it to your population. So like my throwers' max effort stuff could be way different than female swimmers. You know what I mean? Like for a female swimmer, a goblet squat, 3 sets of 10 might be an absolute bitch. You know what I mean? And just smoke them. But like a thrower can, 500-600 pounds on their back. That's their max effort. So it's kind of like when we program, you kind of talked about the lanes, the max effort lane for us. You kind of scale it to what sport you're working with. You don't always have to have a bar on someone's back and have them strain for a 3-second squat. It's kind of an almost, well, it says max effort, so take the effort part of that and really take it into account.